Well, hi, team. Great Victory Asia platform leaders. Love you and miss you. January has been the most amazing month for us, I think for many of us, and sometimes just by faith. But it's been the month of praying and fasting, and there's been tremendous breakthrough from here, I can tell you that. It's also the month for, any annual things, which is our first fruits giving month. So me and Mom have made our first fruits offerings, and I'm expecting some great things from that. I'll share a bit about that in a second. But the deal is that this breakthrough is a breakthrough into a new level. And I want to put several things together for you today. In our last Zoom meeting, first Friday of whatever that was, January, I guess, January the 8th, I had a few little prophetic words there. And one of them was about Thailand, that it's Thailand's turn. And there's something hit in the spirit when I said that. And it wasn't just the people in Thailand saying, yes, it's our turn. It was that it released the harvest of all the things that we've sown. Now, you know that over the decades, Thailand has sown into all of the countries around Asia, and because we're the platform, right? And we expect to do that, and we believe God to do that. And so that's why the first fruits is really important, and the tithe is really important, and then the benevolent offerings, all of those kind of things are very important, because we're sowing a seed for something amazing to happen. And this is a breakthrough that when Thailand gets the breakthrough, everybody gets the breakthrough. And when you get a breakthrough, we all get a breakthrough. So it's very, very important. The promises of Isaiah chapter 58, of course, the tithing chapter, right? Powerful, powerful. And if you haven't been reading that lately, it's a good one to open up. The promises in there. Health springing forth speedily, the light of God rising on us. He's going to be our reward. But there's one particular in verse 12 that I just absolutely love, because it's a prophetic promise that we have built the ministry on across Asia. And that is those from among you, all right? The people from among you, your offspring, the people that you are reaching, teaching, and mobilizing right now, shall build the old waste places, and they shall raise up, or you shall raise up, the foundations of many generations. You think about that, the foundations of many generations. And foundations are the actual authority that give us the ability to go ahead and to build above ground, right? To build the things that we see, you've got to have foundations. And so he says here, this is the promise, that you will raise up the foundations of many generations. And to me, that's the foundations that are yet incomplete, the foundations that have not been completely built, the offerings that have been given that have never come to fruition, right? The seeds that have been sown that have never been harvested. And so that is a prophetic promise to us, that we will raise up those old foundations. We will bring them back from the dead, or bring them up from the past into the present and launching into the future. And it says, and you will be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. And isn't that really who we are? We are the repairers, the restorers, right? The deliverers, the preachers of the good news, wherever we go. And so this is a time, again, I say, of powerful breakthrough. And I had that word at the ROVC prayer meeting the other night. It was kind of the final day of our prayer and fasting. And was that the breakthrough that Baal Perazim, where David saw such a breakthrough, said that God broke through. He used my hand, David said, to break through against my enemies like a great rush of water. And it's just like a dam breaking, like something that just comes right through. And the point is that, we've all been applying our faith and our determination and, our commitment to building great things across the nations. And I'm just so proud of everything that God has done through all of us. It is absolutely amazing. What a time of rejoicing, always. But there comes levels, right, where our breakthroughs have been breakthroughs, but now there's a rushing water breakthrough, just a whoosh kind of a breakthrough into the next things that God has for us. And to me, that's a little bit scary. I want to share with you a message that I just got from Kelly Baker, our good friend to the north of here. And he said he woke up having had 3 dreams. and I just want to share those with you, because I just find it so very significant. All the things that are being put together at the prayer meeting at ROVC, Royal Oak Victory. We wrote down our prayer requests. And those are, they're just stuff that comes out of your heart. And you go back and you look at it and you say, man, oh man, God is doing something here. And so here's the dreams. It says, I had a dream this morning. Actually, it was three dreams in one, and felt to share them with you and Terry. The first one, in the first dream, there were what I think was your Bible college students in a new silver van type bus, very modern looking. It arrived in a bush or tree area, and the students were getting out laughing and joking and happy, and you and Terry were there. And Terry was doing something a few feet away in the background, and whatever she was doing, I knew it was faith she was acting out. But where we were wasn't where the van was going. It was just a stop along the way. And in the dream, I said to you, while Terry was doing this act of faith a few feet away, the thing that I like about you guys is that you just go ahead and act in faith. And when you get to where you're going, the resources and the money are there. And that's true, holds true all across Asia. It's part of our culture. It's the culture we built, isn't it? It's the culture of faith. It's kingdom culture, really. You just go, right? And that was the word that Jesus gave us. Just go and I'll be with you to the ends of the ages, to the ends of the earth. And so we just go. But here's the thing for me, and I don't know about you, but I'm betting this is true, that we feel like right now we're on the threshold of something bigger. And I know coming back to Thailand, the issue is that we have now a challenge. You've either got to go ahead or just say, okay, where we're at is good, we're happy, we've done well, and we're just going to stay here and we're going to survive. And it'll be good. You keep doing good things. Or you could say, God has brought us this far to take us further. He's brought us through all of these steps of faith to take us to the next step of faith. And for us in Thailand, the next step of faith, I mean the material stuff, and everything hinges to this. Like, you can't separate your spiritual progress from your actual physical, what you're doing, right? I mean, yeah, okay. So the next step of faith in Thailand is the lands and buildings faith. And I always thought, we've got 2 5-story buildings already in Sriracha. And that's pretty good. That was accomplishment. That was the accomplishment of the past. Those are foundations from previous generations, from the generation of my young faith, right? But now we've got a whole new generation of leaders in Thailand. And I was talking to Pastor Paul Just the other day and talking about this idea because, the next project that we're looking at is probably going to be about $8 million. That's just a rough ballpark. And I don't know if it'll be cash or in kind or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I'm saying that's where we're headed. Well, the things that we've built now are, I don't know, maybe we have $2 or $3 million worth of properties in Sriracha. So we're talking like a huge leap forward. And we can all say, God has the resources that you need, and God's will always provide if He's got the vision for you and that kind of thing. But you got to walk through that process. You've got to take it to the next step. And so whatever you're believing for in your country, it's huge, right? I mean, it's standing in front of you. It's exciting, but it's also intimidating. And the thing for me that's intimidating, and I just want to share a bit of my heart with you because it gets to the third part of the dream here, is that as I was talking to Pastor Paul, I said, you know what? I've stretched all my life to the point that I'm surprised that I'm still alive, actually. And he said, yes, it's time to let the next generation carry it. And I thought, that's true, I feel like that. But I think the next generation, the Matt and Becky Swang, Leanne's, Oot and Renee's, Chris and Tabs, and all of you guys, next generation leaders, what you carry is you carry a lot of the weight, and you carry the responsibility, and it is a second generation responsibility. It's different from me. You guys are a lot more refined. You have things to work with that we never had. All of that kind of stuff. It is different, but there's one thing that's the same, and that is this great stepping out in faith. And God is convicting me that I still have a role, an important role, in pulling the trigger on this thing. And so, let me go on to the dream here. The second dream was in a kind of a church, and it reminded Kelly of one of the old churches that we used to preach in northern Alberta. He says, I was sitting on the platform at the front. No one was speaking from the stage. And while I was facing the pews, I noticed you, that's me, sitting off on the left-hand side on a ledge along the side of the church. And there were a bunch of other people all sitting on top of the left-hand side ledge as well, okay? Beside you, like a long row of people. So I was sitting at the front of a long row of people along the side of the church. Kelly says, I went over and sat down beside you, and when I did, I noticed you weren't discouraged or depressed. You were in faith, but kind of like you were waiting for something you didn't have permission for. And I think maybe the whole row of people were the same, but you were at the front of the row or nearest to the stage. Okay, that was the second dream. And I believe that. I believe that God has put us, me and Mom, at the front of the row to be trigger pullers. And so that my point is, I can't just say, okay, the great things that are going to happen in Thailand, the great things that are going to happen in Pakistan, in India, all those places, you know, Philippines, all of your countries. I can't just say, well, that's your job now, right? It's like, as long as I am alive, I'll be sitting at the front of the row in some sense. Maybe not in an active leadership role, because you guys are setting your own direction and you know, setting your own pace and so on. But there's a trigger that needs to be pulled. There's something that faith is still, as long as we're alive, you and me are alive in this earth, we are here to walk and express faith and bring the kingdom of heaven into the earth. Okay, and then the third dream was kind of weird. He says, it was like I came into this kind of a dingy, dark type of a room, and there was a man or something, some kind of in the shadows, and you were sitting in a kind of like a barber chair. But your legs and your arms were shrink wrapped to the chair, right, with cellophane, right? And there was a blonde-haired woman in kind of a white uniform, and she was just starting to shrink wrap your mouth and face, going around your head a couple of times. I could see you couldn't breathe or speak. I took this all in like seconds. I rushed over and used my knife to cut the shrink wrap off your head and arms and legs. The man in the shadows and the woman didn't stop me. And then he says, I woke up, all three dreams were so vivid, they were fresh in my head. I wasn't fearful, just kind of disturbed or wondering what, if anything, they meant. I don't know if the colors, bright colors of the dreams meant anything, or you're just really vivid dreams. Also in my third dream, when the blonde-haired lady was starting to put the shrink wrap around your face so you couldn't speak or breathe, I believe it had more to do with speaking than physically breathing, but she was saying it's for your own good. Kind of like reminds me of something my mother would say sometimes when we were little and she was disciplining us. She'd say, this is for your own good. Okay, so that was the third dream. And to be, what do you call that? So you can't speak, right? You can't declare, you can't fulfill what, but it's interesting that the guy and the lady that were doing the shrink wrapping, they had absolutely no authority. It was a fake, okay? So the things that come to stop us, they're fakes. They're not real. We have the breakthrough. We have the authority. We have the foundations that provide us the authority, and those are foundations for us to rebuild. I don't know if you've listened to Becky's message on David encouraging himself in the Lord, and I've only seen the Thai version. I think there's an English version there somewhere. Good job, put with the Thai version. It's everywhere. And that's been stirring on my heart as well, you know, that David encouraged himself in the Lord. And one of Becky's points was that, but the challenge is that at the end, it doesn't say how David encouraged himself in the Lord. Like, how do we do that? And I believe that it's probably different for everybody, depending on, you know, your nature and your character and the situation that you're in. But I'm finding that right now, to encourage myself in the Lord. And the encouragement wasn't just so he wouldn't be down or sad. The encouragement was so that he could win the next battle, right? And so that's where we're at. We're not trying to get out of discouragement because we're so discouraged and it's such a hard job and all that kind of stuff. Although sometimes we do feel overwhelmed. And so that's just that cellophane trying to shrink wrap you and stop you. And you know, there's times where people just they have breakdowns, they have, you know, fall apart or whatever because the pressure just gets so great. And the point is that is a fake pressure. But you have to have, and it's cool, you have to have a friend, you have to have people that are going to cut that stuff off you. There's just some things that we can't do ourselves. And so you need to have people come alongside. And that's the awesome thing about having a team, is that when you or I become too what do I say, too overwhelmed by the immensity of the job, faith job that's ahead of us. Like I say, okay, we're looking in Thailand, let's just say $8 million. You know, like, how do you do that, man? And you can like just feel the weight of it. But it's not a weight. It's just another step of faith. And we have breakthrough upon breakthrough upon breakthrough, and it keeps getting better. But I really sense that this year is the year that we're going to break through into the big one. Okay? They've all been big ones in the past. You know, it's true, isn't it? Everything that we believe God for, church launches, buying lands, whatever it may be, you know, building teams, whatever, it's all been big, right? And starting Bible schools, starting schools, it's all been a big one. But I believe that there's a real big one coming. And maybe after that there's more bigger ones. I don't know. But I know right now, I just sense it in my heart from all of these things that have happened, from the prayers that I wrote down, and the declarations that we made at our prayer and fasting meeting. And I know you guys have a whole bunch of those kind of things that you could be sharing as well. And I believe, and check me on this, if they're not in congruency, if they're not in agreement, if there's not something that's being built here all across the nations, doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's the same Spirit of God speaking to us. And then you know, that message from Becky on David encouraging himself in the Lord, and then leaving us with the question, like, how does he do that? Well, the question is, how do you do that? How are you going to encourage yourself in the Lord? And I believe that some of you need to take a little break even, you know, and some of you have been breaking so long with this lockdown stuff, you're like, I don't want to break anymore. But what you need to do is learn how to break from the overwhelmingness of the big exploits that are looming on the horizon. Right, to just have a heart that's settled and says, good, you know what, I'm good to go here. You got to have some friends cut the cellophane off you, right? And the whole purpose of that is not to save your life. It's so that you can speak and declare and move ahead and accomplish the things that need to be accomplished. So, you know, there's just so many things, and the things that I've been hearing from you all on Messenger and that kind of thing, and the things that have been coming up in our hearts as we teach in Bible school. Man, I tell you, can't you just see all of the rivers flowing together? That something big is on the horizon that we're not only challenged by, but we are equipped for. You know, and the dream where, you know, we're in this new van, modern looking van, Bible school's going somewhere, and Mama's off to the side and she's acting out some kind of faith act, you know, some prophetic thing or whatever. That's what's behind it. We need to continue in our dedication and devotion to God and to His Word, to praise, to worship, and all those kind of things. And of course, we need to be built on those foundations, because if you don't have those, then all the other stuff is just going to be fluff. It's going to fall apart. And but you know, if we have the foundations, then we get to the thick of the battle, where it doesn't matter what went wrong, how many people want to kill us. We can, like David, encourage ourselves in the Lord and figure out how to do that. And so I believe, you know, that even in this next little while, that God's going to show you, and He needs to show me, how to encourage myself in the Lord. Right now, personally, I have so many things on the go, projects that have got to be done, that I'm working to early in the morning. A lot of times I start at 4 in the morning and then 10 at night or whatever, and I just fall into bed just dead tired. It's not good, you know. You can't do that forever. And God needs to show me. I need to learn how to, when I wake up in the morning, that there's not 20 projects that all are urgent and need to get done. Hey, look I'm just about 70 years old, and that's still going on in my brain. So don't think it's strange that this kind of stuff happens to you. You just get overwhelmed by all the things that you need to do. But God has a way, and the Holy Spirit is with us to sort those out and to be able to organize our lives so that we can put those aside. So what I'm saying is, we need to learn the things to do. And again, this is part of leading ourselves on how to set those things in place so that they're not intimidating. They're just things that we're going to do and things that we're going to accomplish with joy and excitement. All right, so anyway, there's a lot of stuff on my heart and a lot of stuff on your heart. I wish we could share more, but let's just believe that God's bringing out the important things, the key things, and press forward. So we love you all across the platform, and I really appreciate the way you're putting your hands to the work. Really appreciate the way that you're applying yourselves to break through and move ahead in 2021.